I sat there staring blankly at Zunaira, who looked radiant, glowing like the full moon. There was a certain joy on her face, an undeniable charm as she spoke endlessly about her husband, praising him with genuine affection. She held his hand tightly, and every now and then, they exchanged warm glances filled with love. Their silent yet expressive admiration for each other only deepened the emptiness growing inside me. Because in my life, love was painfully absent. It had only been a year since my wedding, while Zunaira and Sajid Bai had been married for nearly 4 years. Yet their love still shone brightly, while mine had somehow faded into an abyss of silence and distance. I felt lonelier than ever, the gap between me and my husband widening with each passing day. The hollow ache inside me became unbearable. So I got up and went to the kitchen. We had invited them over for dinner, and I had made sure to prepare an elaborate meal. Just as I started setting things in place, Zunaira followed me inside. "Let me help you," she offered cheerfully. "Whenever I cook, Sajid is always by my side. He helps me with everything." She said this while effortlessly setting the table, and I simply stared at her, lost in thought. Because my husband, Ihtisham, had never done that. But it wasn't just about helping in the kitchen. It was about the growing chasm between us, the unspoken distance that had settled into our marriage like an invisible wall. As I arranged the dishes, I hesitated for a moment before finally asking, "Zunaira, if you don't mind, can I ask you something?" She turned to me with a warm smile. "Bobby, why are you being so formal? You can ask me anything." I took a deep breath, gathering the courage to voice what had been bothering me for so long. "Your marriage has been years now," I began, choosing my words carefully. "But the love between you and Sajid Bai is still so strong. It feels as if you two just got married. How is that possible? How can a marriage still feel so fresh, so full of love after all these years?" A knowing smile spread across her face, and she said, "I have a special secret, a secret that makes a man not only fall deeply in love with his woman, but also never even think about anyone else." She winked playfully as if teasing me, leaving me hanging on her words. I was about to ask her what that secret was when Ihtisham suddenly entered the kitchen. He interrupted our conversation before I could get my answer. "Have you said everything properly?" he asked. I simply nodded, and he left to call Sajid Bai for dinner. I sighed, watching him walk away. Sajid Bai and my husband were business partners. They had been working together for years, and that professional bond had eventually extended to our homes. Over time, I had grown close to Zunaira, and our friendship had blossomed naturally. She was warm, affectionate, and always full of advice. I trusted her and often confided in her about my worries. But what amazed me most was her relationship with her husband. Sajid Bai was always affectionate towards her. Sometimes he would casually put an arm around her shoulder. Other times he would hold her hand and absent-mindedly play with her fingers while they sat together. And when he started praising Zunaira, he wouldn't stop. He would list one quality after another, his admiration for her pouring out effortlessly. But what surprised me the most was that Zunaira was childless. She had been married for 4 years, yet she and Sajid Bai had no children. And despite that, their love remained as strong as ever. Meanwhile, my husband acted as if he barely cared about me. I felt like nothing more than a passing presence in his life, someone he acknowledged only when necessary, a mere companion for the sake of time, nothing more. Sometimes I felt like there was another woman in his life, someone who had taken my place, making him indifferent to both my presence and my love. As we sat at the dinner table, I watched in silence as Sajid Bai took a piece of food and lovingly fed Zunaira with his own hands. Smiling warmly, he said, "I always feed Zunaira the first bite myself. It keeps our love strong, even makes it grow. It's my way of expressing my affection." Hearing this, I smiled faintly, but deep inside, something ached. I glanced at Zunaira, and the happiness on her face was undeniable. There was no hesitation, no shyness in their love. They were effortlessly expressive, cherishing even the smallest moments, the kind that made relationships beautiful. I too longed for such moments. I wished my marriage had these simple gestures, these little expressions of love, but that was never the case. Ihtisham never cared about such things. He neither valued these small moments nor ever made an effort to create them. Even when I had subtly hinted at wanting such gestures, he dismissed my desires. Love and arguments between a husband and wife should stay within the bedroom, he would say. It's not something to be displayed for the world. And so I silenced my heart. I killed my own desires. But watching them now, I felt a deep longing. I found myself wondering how lucky Zunaira was. She had a husband who adored her, who treated her like she was his entire world. And yet, she was an ordinary-looking woman. Nothing particularly striking about her features, while I, by all standards, was younger, more beautiful. Yet my husband did not love me the way Sajid Bhai loved Zunaira. The thought haunted me throughout the evening, lingering in my mind until it was time for Zunaira to leave. As she hugged me goodbye, she whispered, "You seem disturbed. If anything is bothering you, you can always talk to me. I am like a sister to you." Her words struck something deep inside me. I had no sisters, no one to confide in, no one to share my problems with. Whenever I faced a difficulty, I would bottle it up, letting it eat away at me in silence. But now, for the first time, I felt like maybe I had someone I could trust. Encouraged by this new bond, I started talking to Zunaira more frequently. I would call her often, sharing even the smallest things. She would always listen patiently, and one day she finally said to me, "You need to talk to Ihtisham. Ask him directly if there is another woman in his life." At first I refused. The thought of confronting him scared me, but Zunaira insisted. "You need to talk to him. That's the only way to solve this. And be firm. If you ask him sternly, he'll have no choice but to tell you the truth." Following her advice, I finally gathered the courage to ask him one night, but his reaction was nothing like I had expected. Instead of guilt, his face twisted in anger. "Are you out of your mind?" he snapped. "How can there be another woman in my life? I spend all day working to build our future, and you accuse me of this nonsense?" I flinched at his harsh tone, but he wasn't finished. "If you expect me to be like some movie hero, sitting at your feet reciting romantic dialogues or waiting on you hand and foot, then forget it. I am not that kind of man." He was furious. I was shaken. I didn't know what to do, so the next day I told Zunaira everything. She listened carefully, then said something that left me stunned. "Maybe there isn't another woman in his life," she said, "but there could be a weakness, a reason why he avoids intimacy with you." Her words sent a shiver through me. "What are you saying? There's nothing wrong with my husband. He is a complete man." Zunaira smiled knowingly. "There are many things we women don't know, but men do. Some of them hide their weaknesses out of pride, out of fear. They keep it to themselves to protect their dignity." I stared at her, speechless. She leaned in and whispered, "Give him things that increase his strength. Make him feel more confident. Make him happy, and he will make you happy, just like I do with Sajid." Zunaira's last words made me stop in my tracks. I looked at her curiously and asked, "What do you mean? What exactly do you do?" She leaned in slightly, lowering her voice. "At the beginning of our marriage, Sajid had many issues too. He was distant, just like Ihtisham is with you. It took me some time, but I finally figured out what the real problem was. He was suffering from a weakness, one that made him feel ashamed in front of me. He avoided being too close because he was afraid of disappointing me. He would come home late, using work as an excuse just to avoid intimacy. I knew he was making excuses, staying in the office longer than necessary, but I kept quiet, waiting for the right moment. Her voice held a mysterious confidence as she continued. Then I discovered a solution. I started feeding him rabbit meat. I stared at her in shock. "Rabbit meat?" She smiled. "Yes, within a few days the change was unbelievable. His weakness disappeared, and he became stronger. So strong that now he's like a lion in front of me. He craves my company, expresses his love for me all the time, and never spends a single night away from me. Our love is so deep now that people envy us. I couldn't give him children, yet he has no complaints about me. And to think, once upon a time, he used to stay out late making excuses. Now he can't even bear to be away from me for a single night. I was stunned into silence. She smirked at my hesitation and said, "You should do the same. Feed Ihtisham rabbit meat and you'll see the results for yourself." I shook my head. "But what if he finds out? How would I even convince him to eat it?" She laughed lightly. "Leave that to me. Tomorrow I'll tell you exactly what to do. But for now, keep a firm stance. Show him that you're upset. Make sure he realizes that you're not happy with him. Maybe that will push him to start paying attention to you again." Her words lingered in my mind. I was desperate for change, so I decided to follow her advice. That night, I stopped talking to Ihtisham altogether. He came home late as usual. I quietly served him dinner and then went straight to the bedroom, lying down before he even entered. I shut my eyes, pretending to be asleep, hoping he would notice something was off. I thought maybe he'd wake me up. Maybe he'd ask me what was wrong. Maybe he'd be surprised to see me sleeping before him when I had always stayed up waiting for him. I had always sat beside him, talking, trying to spend time with him. But this time I had done the opposite. I waited, holding my breath. But nothing happened. He simply finished his meal, came to bed, and lay down without a word. He didn't ask why I was upset. He didn't reach for me. He didn't even notice. A lump formed in my throat, and an unbearable weight settled in my chest. He didn't care. Silent tears slid down my face as I lay there, feeling emptier than ever. The sense of longing inside me grew stronger, tightening its grip around my heart. Maybe Zunaira was right. Something was definitely wrong with Ihtisham, because he hadn't always been this way. Before our marriage, he had been different. We would talk for hours on the phone, exchanging words filled with love. Even after our wedding for the first few days, everything had been fine. But within a month, something changed. The love that once existed between us had slowly begun to fade. Distance crept in. He started staying out for long hours. Even when he came home, he barely paid me any attention. He would go straight to sleep, indifferent to my presence. If I forced myself into his arms, he would oblige. But it always felt like he was fulfilling a duty rather than desiring me. And that was what hurt the most. The feeling of being unwanted. I wanted his time. I longed for his love. But I had never truly been able to have it. I had made up my mind. I was going to ask Zunaira exactly what she did with the rabbit meat and how she made Sajid eat it. The thought had taken root in my mind that maybe my husband had some kind of issue too. After all, even after a year of marriage, I hadn't gotten pregnant. I never took it seriously because it hadn't been that long. But now, after what Zunaira had said about Sajid having a similar problem, I couldn't help but wonder if something was wrong with Ihtisham too. The next morning, I called Zunaira and told her that Ihtisham had come home very late last night, saying he had a business meeting. She immediately sounded surprised. "No, there was no business meeting last night. Sajid came home at 9 o'clock sharp. In fact, he told me that Ihtisham was just sitting in the office for no reason. There was no work, nothing important to do, but he just didn't want to go home. Sajid even thought maybe he had a fight with you. But since I didn't want to assume anything, I thought I'd ask you first." Her words made my heart sink. "There was no fight between us," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "He told me he and Sajid had a meeting, and that's why he was late. I believed him." Zunaira let out a loud laugh. "Oh, Bobby, you're too innocent. Ihtisham Bhai is fooling you. Sajid was home on time, and your husband was just staying back at the office, pretending to be busy. I'm telling you, you need to fix this issue before it's too late, or you'll regret it later." Her words hit me like daggers. I felt as if the ground beneath me had collapsed. I sighed and said, "Tell me what to do, Zunaira. Your married life is perfect. Maybe your advice can help fix mine." She chuckled, her voice laced with confidence. "I'm sending my servant over with rabbit meat. Make it into minced meat and cook it for your husband without telling him. Just wait a few days and you'll see the difference yourself. Rabbit meat is extremely powerful, especially for men. It increases their energy, their drive, and trust me, when your husband's strength improves, so will his love and affection for you." I thanked her. "Everyone should have a friend like you." She laughed softly. "Not just a friend, Bobby. I'm your sister." A few hours later, there was a knock on my door. A man stood outside holding a plastic bag. I'm Zunaira Madame's servant, he said. She sent this for you. I quickly took the bag, thanked him, and shut the door. Without wasting time, I went into the kitchen and prepared the minced meat. I followed Zunaira's instructions strictly. She had warned me not to eat it myself. It's too strong for women, she had said. If you eat it, it could cause you problems. So as I cooked, I didn't taste it, not even a single bite. That night, Ihtisham returned home earlier than usual. He had a faint smile on his face, and his tone was lighter than it had been in a long time. Tonight, we'll talk a lot, he said warmly. I was taken aback. It had been so long since he had come home looking this relaxed, this happy. After so many days, I finally feel a bit relieved, he continued. One of our business deals got finalized today. He kept talking about work, but I was barely listening. I was just happy to see him smile. I quickly set the dinner table. Come, let's eat together, he said. I couldn't stop thinking. This was already an improvement, and once he ate the rabbit meat, I was sure everything would change completely. But I refused because Zunaira had strictly warned me not to eat the meat myself. My husband, on the other hand, ate it with great enthusiasm. However, in between bites, he kept asking why the meat tasted different. I casually told him that I had tried a new recipe I had seen on TV. He didn't question it further. He was too hungry. After finishing his meal, he went to the bedroom. I quickly cleaned up the kitchen and went to the other room to get ready. I had already prepared everything in advance, placing my clothes and accessories in the other room so I could get dressed without him noticing. Once I was ready, I took a final look at myself in the mirror. I looked beautiful. Youth and beauty radiated from me. A hopeful smile played on my lips. But when I entered the bedroom a little later, what I saw made my blood run cold. Ihtisham was lying on the bed, half on and half off, his body limp. Panicked, I rushed to him, only to find foam coming out of his mouth. My heart nearly stopped. We were alone in the house. His family lived in another city, and it was just the two of us here. I had no idea what to do. My mind went blank with fear. In desperation, I immediately called Zunaira and told her everything. She gasped, but quickly said, "Call an ambulance right away. We'll meet you at the hospital. Don't panic." I hastily changed my clothes, called the ambulance, and rushed Ihtisham to the hospital. The doctors examined him and soon delivered a shocking verdict. This was a case of poisoning. They looked at me sternly and asked, "Did he attempt suicide or did someone try to kill him?" I felt like the ground had been pulled from beneath my feet. "No," I cried out. "He didn't take any poison. No one poisoned him. He just ate dinner and went to sleep." The doctor gave me a strange look and then called the police. When the officers arrived, they immediately started questioning me. A case was officially registered. I pleaded with them. "Please, just treat my husband first. Everything else can wait." The doctors proceeded with his treatment. They said he would need surgery. His stomach had to be cleansed to remove the poison. I paced outside the hospital room, my mind clouded with confusion and fear. I had no idea how this had happened. The police continued to interrogate me while I waited for Zunaira and Sajid to arrive. But then fate struck its cruelest blow. Before the surgery could even begin, my husband passed away. The news hit me like a lightning bolt. Just moments ago, he had been sitting with me, talking, eating. And now he was gone. I couldn't believe it. I refused to believe it. Then the doctors confirmed the worst. The food he had eaten contained poison. The moment those words were spoken, the police arrested me. I screamed, protested, pleaded, but they ignored me. They kept calling me a murderer, my own husband's killer. Word soon reached Ihtisham's family in the other city. His brother arrived, and when he learned what had happened, he immediately believed that I was guilty. "We will press charges against her," he declared coldly. An FIR was registered, and the case was set to go to court. My own family arrived, desperate to prove my innocence, but they had no way to do so. The evidence was stacked against me. The food samples from my house had been collected, and they had tested positive for poison. The police interrogated me relentlessly. "Why did you kill your husband?" they demanded. "I didn't," I sobbed. "That meat, it was sent to me by Zunaira." At last, Zunaira and Sajid arrived at the police station. But when the police began questioning Zunaira in front of me, she denied everything. She said I had nothing to do with this. I only gave her friendly advice, nothing more. I don't know anything about any meat. She's making up this entire story. Why would I send her meat? And rabbit meat of all things. Am I out of my mind? Zunaira scoffed, shaking her head dramatically. This woman is lying. She and her husband have been having problems for a long time. She has told me many times that her husband is impotent. I even advised her not to think like that, but she wouldn't listen. God knows what was going on in her mind. She started feeding him strange medicines and weird remedies, despite my warnings. Maybe she got tired of him and decided to poison him herself. Zunaira's words sent a chill down my spine. She had turned everything against me. She even showed the police selected messages from our chats, messages where I had vented my frustrations, where I had admitted feeling neglected and tired of my colorless marriage. Those messages, taken out of context, made the police certain that I had killed my husband to get rid of him. My own family, who had been standing by me, now hesitated. Itisham's family, already grieving, became my worst enemies. The funeral was held. My husband was gone. I was now a widow. But no one felt pity for me. I sat behind bars, weeping helplessly, my world crumbling around me. And then I saw her, Zunaira. She was walking away, victorious. But I called her name. She stopped and turned back, walking slowly toward me. A deep, sinister smile played on her lips. So, she said mockingly, did you get the love of your husband now? Tears streamed down my face. Zunaira, why did you do this to me? I trusted you. I thought of you as my sister. She let out a soft chuckle, tilting her head. Have you ever looked in the mirror, Babhi? You always thought you were so beautiful, didn't you? Her eyes darkened. My husband, Sajid, would constantly compare me to you. He would say, look at Ihtisham Bhai's wife, how stunning she is, and I got stuck with a barren woman like you. I stared at her in horror as she continued. In public, Sajid always acted like the perfect, loving husband, but at home he would beat me, insult me, humiliate me. He would always chant your name, always tell me he deserved a wife like you. Her voice turned venomous. I grew to hate you. You and your husband ruined my life. Ihtisham Bhai never let Sajid work in peace at the office. And because of you, my marriage was falling apart. So I decided to teach you both a lesson. My breath hitched. But I never meant to kill Ihtisham Bhai, she said casually. I just added a little poison, just enough to make him sick. I thought he'd go to the hospital, suffer a little, and then recover. I never knew he already had a heart condition. He was taking multiple medications, and because of that, even a small dose of poison became fatal for him. She smirked. You wanted to know why your husband was distant? It wasn't because of another woman, Bobby. It was because he was sick. He was worried about you, about your future. He didn't want to burden you, so he never told you. But you misunderstood him, and I took advantage of your insecurities. She leaned closer, whispering the final blow. Now you are out of my life forever. Your name is erased from my world. A wicked gleam flashed in her eyes. Now I will go to Sajid and tell him, see, the woman you admired so much, she murdered her own husband. And then he will realize my worth. She straightened up, adjusting her shawl with a satisfied smile. And of course, she added with a smirk, Sajid now owns the entire business. With Ihtisham Bhai gone, everything automatically falls into his hands. Our lives are set. She laughed, a bone-chilling, victorious laugh, and then she walked away, leaving me frozen in disbelief. The mask had fallen. The sweet, kind, supportive sister I had trusted was nothing but a monster. A woman with a face so innocent, hiding a soul so evil. I had never seen the real Zunaira until now, and I had been too blind to see it before. If only I had realized earlier, I wouldn't have destroyed my own home with my own hands. The trial began. Ihtisham's family testified against me. My own family had no way to prove my innocence. My mother-in-law had never liked me. From the very beginning, she had been against me, always finding reasons to criticize me. And when the final verdict was announced, it was against me. I was sentenced to 7 years of hard labor in prison. But it wasn't the prison that broke me. It was the loss of my husband. It was the pain of losing the love of my life. It was the agony of being seen as a murderer by my own family, by the people who once cared for me. I had destroyed my home with my own hands. By trusting an outsider, I had brought ruin upon my own marriage. Today it has been 2 years since I have been in prison. Every single night I cry for my husband. Every single day I regret not seeing the truth sooner. If only he had told me about his illness. If only he had shared his burdens with me. If only I had spoken to him with love instead of running to Zunaira. If only we had openly communicated, we could have found a way through our struggles. But we both kept secrets from each other. And in the end, Satan took advantage of our silence. Even if I complete my sentence and walk free one day, I will never be free from the fire of regret. But then, one day, I received some unexpected news. Sajid divorced Zunaira. Not only that, he married another woman. Her own marriage couldn't survive. I felt a deep sorrow, even for her. She destroyed everything out of hatred and jealousy. My home, my love, my life. But in the end, she couldn't save her own marriage either. This world is a place of karma. Whatever a person does, they will eventually face its consequences. That is why no one should ever interfere between a husband and wife. Never create conflicts between them. Never become a reason for their fights, because that is Satan's work, not a human's.